Hello, welcome to Soulprint Intuitive Tarot for May 6th. So, we have this week the Supreme Court of the United States has started sort of making their hearings, the arguments, public. Okay, so I myself have not looked at one yet. I haven't seen one, but there's, I guess, just more information coming out in terms of how they actually work and what goes on with them. So that's sort of interesting, certainly for those of you who are interested in justice and how it works and how the courts work. I think that that's probably fascinating. Look what just topped out. We've got Trump. We've got Trump and we've got the Strength card. So I'm going to keep those out and set them down because in some ways that really is what this reading is going to be about. It's going to be about literally whether or not the strength of justice, the strength of your legal department, your legal not department, the rules, the umbrella which governs a country, right? Which is the laws. You are a country made up of laws. Whether that is actually has the strength to rein this guy in. So I have to tell you, I'm really not up on everything that's going to be looked at by them. But I do know that the hearings for his tax returns and the information about whether that should be released or whether it can't be released just because he's president, which I think is sort of the gist of it, that he can't just refuse to release stuff because he's president. We're going to see what that looks like. That's happening, I believe, on the 12th. I'm not sure when the ruling on that is coming out. It's going to be at least a couple months from what I think down the line. It's not like they hear it and then, 24 hours later they turn around and offer their ruling. So, yeah, and and honestly, but with tax returns, there is sort of a question. Every single lower court said that he wasn't allowed to do that, and they kept pushing it and pushing it and pushing it up to the Supreme Court. And so there's sort of two sides to that, right? On the one hand, did it get pushed up that high because the Supreme and did the Supreme Court decide to take on the case because they feel that they're going to make a different ruling than all of the lower courts? Or did they decide to take it on sort of with an eye towards setting a very high level precedent for it so that this kind of thing isn't or doesn't come into question again? Okay, I don't know, but those are my questions. So come on down and let's see what the cards, one more shuffle, want to tell us. Come on down. Okay, so as you can see, we've got the Strength card representing the courts, and we've got the King of Pentacles representing, who else but Trump. So, Scotus, Trump, hearings. Scotus, Trump, hearings. Scotus, Trump, hearings. What does this look like? Okay. The short answer is that Trump is not going to get what Trump is hoping for. Not for a lot of stuff, okay? Part of what he does is so blatantly unconstitutional. And if the Supreme Court does nothing, it follows the Constitution, right? That is sort of the blueprint that they make their decisions by. And so things where he just blatantly disregards the law, it doesn't feel like he's going to win in terms of the decisions that are handed down by the court. So there's that. The other thing I think that's going to happen, and it's actually going to become very, very apparent next week when the Department of Justice starts pushing back on everything that is connected or associated with Trump. What you're going to find or see is that they're really, really out there on a ledge spewing nonsense. Like, you're actually going to be able to see and hear how far outside of even common sense the Department of Justice has been forced to go in order to try to justify some of the things that Trump is demanding they represent him on and represent, this nonsense. I mean, honestly, it was the Department of Justice who not that long ago told a judge, well, yeah, no, if Trump breaks the law, not only can he not be charged with breaking the law, he can't even be investigated. So yeah, he can shoot someone on Fifth Avenue, and no, nobody has the authority to even question him about it. Never mind arrest him and throw him in the hoosegow, which is where everybody else would get tossed if they shot somebody on Fifth Avenue. So, so there's going to be kind of a new awareness about just how really insane some of the stuff they're trying to argue is, and the way they're trying to argue it. And you're going to see you're going to see some of the outrageous really, really get pulled back into at least the realm of realistic common sense, stringing words together so they actually make an intelligent sentence. There's going to be, I mean, not slap on the hands, but there's going to be a lot of significant questioning that is coming from the bench. And those that are representing Trump really don't have there's our justice card, really do not have a leg to stand on. And so they're not going to be able to come up with really smart, clever, legal answers. Okay, they're not going to be able to cite precedents. They're not going to be able to much of anything except stand there and make statements that make Trump happy, but make no logical sense to pretty much anybody else. And frankly, that is going to be what brings Barr down. Okay, he's already under investigation. There's already stuff going on with Barr. But as this goes on, and he continues to do things only for the pleasure of Trump, irregardless of what he is actually taking from the American people, what he is actually taking and desecrating in terms of the rule of law, that's going to actually be part of what really, really brings him down, because you're going to finally be able to see that he has so bastardized what a head of the Justice Department, how they should behave, how an attorney general of a country should conduct himself, that there is going to be almost like no salvaging him. It's going to be a rather big, loud crash. You can anticipate when everything is said and done, and the Justice Department is no longer under the rule of a sycophant, that there are going to be so many reviews going on about lawyers and their law licenses and whether they should be allowed to keep them, I would venture to say you're not even going to be able to keep track. You're not even going to be able to keep track of all of the people who are going to be investigated for what they have done or tried to do to the rule of law and the justice within your country. And you know what? You can anticipate, I'm sorry, I mean, I know they're supposed to be bipartisan and neutral, but to some degree, you have to admit there's kind of a little bit of siding with the president, you know, who put you into that position, okay? But even by Republican standards, Barr has shot so far over the line that it's not going to be good. And a lot of stuff is going to come out, stuff that there weren't answers for, right? Stuff that you couldn't quite figure out why he was doing, what was in it for him, what he was gaining, what was being given to him to assure, or what was being held away from him to assure, his compliance. And then again, I've said this before about him, make no mistake, some of this stuff he really, really, to the core of his very being, believes. But there has sort of been a stretching, if you will, an amplification of what he believes and how kind of loosey-goosey he got with it. There's going to be a lot of information actually that comes out about him and about what was going on behind the scenes and about personal information that he probably doesn't want out there in terms of what he did, what he didn't do, and how it was conducted. So he's going to be in a world of hurt a little bit down the line. So as far as Scotus, it feels as if some of the rulings are really, really not going to be advantageous to Trump. It also, I'm afraid, feels a little bit like some of the rulings might be I want to say sort of might be less than people are hoping for. And you know what? SCOTUS has a habit of doing that, right? When they're dealing with like a really big issue or something that has far-reaching impact, if they don't kind of want to take it up, like they don't want to kick over that hornet's nest, what they do is they narrow it down so narrow that it just becomes about something very, very, very specific. I'm reminded of the court case about the baker who didn't want to do a wedding cake for a gay couple because he didn't believe that being gay was appropriate. He morally, thought that he actually should have a place in making judgments about who other people should love. But that's another topic for another day. So what they did was, instead of basically saying, listen, you can't do that, okay? You just can't do that. That's not what our law provides for. What they did was they narrowed it down so narrow that it only was about that couple and the baker. And they made no sort of reference to the bigger picture. And it feels like there may be a couple of those kind of very, very narrow rulings. So does that mean Trump's going to get what he wants? Not necessarily. But what it does mean is it may be very, very specific. So instead of a general, this is now the rule of the land and you can't do that or you have to do that. It's going to be more about he shouldn't have done it, or he can do it, or he can't do it. So there might be a little bit of that happens. That ruling being handed down is a little ways off. So I'm going to want to revisit that when it gets a little bit closer. For right now, the big takeaway really does seem to be that there's going to be some real clarity about kind of almost the burden that the Justice Department is carrying, trying to actually litigate some of this crap. And again, understand, just because some poor lawyer is standing there in front of the judge trying to save face and trying not to look like the village idiot, it doesn't mean that they actually agree with what they're saying. You're going to see how forceful was the manipulation by the Justice Department against its employees, against the people, the lawyers who are there doing their job in a bipartisan, or almost I want to say nonpartisan way, at doing their job. Doing the job that they expected to have and function in when they were hired, as opposed to kind of what they're being forced to put up with and do now. Okay, so that's going to become really, really apparent. And, you can anticipate, again, it feels like not only is it going to look and feel as if common sense has taken a vacation in the Justice Department, it's also going to become very apparent how badly that whole organization has literally been twisted in order to accommodate the Mad King, right? In order to, kind of appease him, even though we know he's pretty unappeasable. Yeah. So there's going to be a lot of juggling, right? A lot of kind of, I want to say narrow, kind of narrow decisions made so that they're really, really not rocking the waters. And it's possible even that Trump may not lose everything. But again, that then becomes something that the Democratic Senate has got to be cognizant, aware of the fact that the people of the country expect that these loopholes get closed. And that, again, as voters, that is your job, frankly. That is your job, to make sure that the senators and the House Representatives know exactly what the hell you expect from them in terms of ensuring that what has happened goes down in history as this incredibly bizarre anomaly. It's sort of like all of America was on a bit of an acid trip for the last 3 years or 4 years, and that it never happens again. So that's kind of what's going on. So I guess what I'm saying to you is sort of this in a nutshell. Do not be surprised and do not be devastated by rulings that maybe are not as clear or as forceful as you would like. There may even be a ruling or so that you just shake your head over and go, what were they even thinking? Okay? Because when the choice is made between one way or the other, one party or another, we versus me, when that decision is made and the White House returns to a sense of normalcy and frankly, whatever the new normal is, because the new normal is going to be different than whatever the old normal is or was, that is where things are going to need to be corrected. And so this is probably not exactly what you want to hear, but what I'm saying to you is, even if things don't go the way everybody would hope every single ruling would go, understand that he is still not long for the office. Understand he's not going to be reelected. And understand that as this pandemic continues to rage out of control, he's going to have less and less of a chance of getting in, as are his Republican, as are the other Republicans who are up for reelection. Okay, so even if it isn't what anybody was hoping for, in some cases, not all, don't panic, but understand that the correction will come. The correction is right around the corner. So, that's not the best news, but frankly, it's not the worst news. And there is nothing that I'm seeing here that indicates that he's going to win in every single area. Okay. And I got to tell you, honestly, I don't know what all is going before the courts, but like I said, it feels like he's going to lose. But there are other things that are going to be really, really narrowly defined. And that may even include other things that the courts are looking at that don't have anything to do with Trump, but perhaps have to do with really draconian Republican ideas. Okay. I don't know. Is there something going before the courts about the state's right to mandate abortion? I don't know. I don't know, right? But if it is, don't be surprised if again, there's sort of those kinds of very, very narrow rulings as opposed to something broad and opened. So this is actually quite a bit shorter than my normal readings, but that's kind of what I have to say about that. The cards aren't talking, so we're going to wrap this up. But I do want to just take a quick moment again to thank all of you for the support that you have given this, and of course the Soulprint Insights channel. I'm very grateful for both. I have hit 6,000 subscribers, so that's super exciting for me. So thank you very much for that. My new subscribers, I'm so glad that you have joined Soulprint, and that hopefully you find and enjoy what is offered here. And I thank you, of course, for the thumbs up and the comments. I really love that our comments are supportive of one another, and that for the most part, we try not to say things or use words that are going to get your comment flagged. Because then, then it just sort of makes it more difficult. You get enough stuff flagged, and then, I've got sort of YouTube beetle eyes watching everything that happens, and so that's not, a good thing. So, again, thank you so much. I'm so excited to have over 6,000 subscribers. Thank you to all of my established ones. You are the ones that built the foundation, and of course, my new ones are those who I adore because they continue to allow my channel to grow. So thank you. Thank you. I'm very blessed that each and every one of you are part of the Soulprint experience. Thank you ever so much. Until next time, take care, be well, and I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.